Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something today. There will come a point in your life when you've got to walk alone. Not because people don't love you, not because they don't care, but because your journey, your vision, your calling, it belongs to you. Too many people waste years waiting on support, waiting on validation, waiting on somebody to hold their hand. But real strength is built when you stand by yourself and keep walking forward, even when nobody else clapping for you. Walking alone doesn't mean you're lonely. It means you're strong enough to go after what you believe in without needing the crowd. When you walk alone, you hear your own voice louder, and that becomes one of the most powerful lessons you can ever experience in life. See, the truth is most people go through their days surrounded by noise. No, it's from friends, from family, from co-workers, from social media, from society itself, telling you what you should be, how you should act, and what you should want. And that noise can drown out the most important voice you'll ever have, which is the one inside of you. When you make the choice to step away from the crowd and walk by yourself, you start to realize that your inner voice is more than enough. You stop listening to everyone's doubts, fears, and criticisms, and instead, you learn to trust your instincts. That inner voice is God's whisperer in your life, guiding you toward the path meant only for you. But you can't hear clearly if you never take the time to walk alone. Walking alone forces you into a place of honesty with yourself. There's no audience to perform for, no crowd to impress, no circle of friends to shape your decisions. It's just you and your truth. And sometimes that truth is uncomfortable because you're faced with your own weaknesses, your own fears, your own insecurities. But here's the blessing in it. When you hear your voice say louder, you also hear your strength louder. You discover your determination, your resilience, your ability to push forward even when the path is uncertain. And that recognition, that self-awareness, becomes the foundation of real confidence. Too often people look for validation in others, waiting for someone to tell them they're good enough, they're smart enough, they're capable enough. But when you walk alone, you stop waiting for that validation and you start giving it to yourself. When you choose that path, the voice of doubt from the outside world starts to fade. You'll notice how much people project their own fears onto you. They'll say you can't do it, it's too risky, it's impossible. But none of those voices matter once you've tuned into your own. Your voice tells you to try. Your voice tells you to believe. Your voice tells you that you were not given this vision by accident. And once you realize that nobody else's opinion can hold the same weight, walking alone creates space for you to strengthen that inner conviction until it becomes unshakable. Think about it like this. Every great achiever, every pioneer, every leader we admire had a season of walking alone. They had to shut out the crowd to hear their own vision. If they had listened to everybody else, they never would have reached their potential. And the same applies to you. That dream you carry, that goal you keep thinking about, it might not make sense to anyone else. But if it makes sense to you, that's enough. Walking alone sharpens your ear to the point where you no longer need the world's approval because your own belief is louder than their doubt. That is why hearing your own voice louder when you walk alone becomes the very strength that carries you to where you are meant to be. Walking alone teaches you independency in a way that nothing else can. Life is unpredictable and people are unpredictable too. One day they may be with you, supporting you, clapping for you, but the next day they might disappear without explanation. If your ability to move forward depends entirely on who is standing beside you, then you will always be stuck when they leave. Independence is not about rejecting people. It's about understanding that your survival, your growth, your success cannot be chained to the presence or absence of anyone else. When you walk alone, you learn how to rely on yourself, on your own skills, your own mind, your own determination. That realization is what builds true strength. You stop waiting for somebody else to motivate you and you learn how to motivate yourself. You stop waiting for opportunities to be handed to you and you learn how to create them on your own. You stop blaming others for what you don't have and you start building with what you do have. The truth is, walking along strips away excuses. It is easy to say you couldn't reach your goals because no one helped you, because no one believed in you, because nobody showed up. But when it's just you on that road, you don't have the luxury of excuses anymore. You either do it or you don't. And that clarity forces you to grow. You begin to realize that the power to change your life has always been in your hand. And even though it feels heavy at first, even though it feels uncomfortable, over time that weight turns into strength. You become someone who doesn't crumble when others walk away. You become someone who doesn't lose direction when people stop clapping. You become someone who can carry yourself regardless of who is watching. When you gain independence through walking alone, you also gain a deep sense of freedom. You are no longer tied to what others think about your choices, no longer chained to their approval or their expectations. You understand that it is your life and your journey, and you are willing to take responsibility for it. That independence allows you to move faster, to make bold decisions, and to take risks that others are too afraid to take. You stop fearing loneliness because you've already discovered that you are enough company for yourself. You stop fearing failure because you know that even if you fall, you have the strength to get back up without depending on someone else to lift you. Walking alone builds a foundation inside of you that cannot be shaken by circumstances. When you've learned to walk without needing anyone to carry you, you no longer fear being abandoned. You no longer fear being misunderstood. You understand that even if the world turns its back on you, you still have the power to move forward. That kind of independence is not arrogance. It is survival. It is growth. It is the unshakable confidence that comes from knowing that while you may enjoy having people walk with you, you don't need them in order to reach your destination. Walking alone reveals who truly belongs in your life, and that lesson can change everything about the way you see people. When you first start your journey, it feels natural to want everyone you care about to come with you. You imagine that your friends, your family, your circle will all stay by your side as you chase your goals. But life has a way of showing you the truth. When the path gets harder, when the nights get longer, when the sacrifices get heavier, that's when you discover who is real and who was just around for the easy parts. Walking alone becomes a filter separating the temporary from the permanent, the pretenders from the loyal, the ones who celebrated you when it was convenient from the ones who will stand with you even when it cost them something. When you start to walk that lonely road, many people disappear. Some can't handle the distance you need to create in order to focus. Some can't understand why you no longer spend your time doing what they do. Some don't like the idea of you changing because you're grow. That reminds them of the places where they are still standing still. And some never cared about your vision at all. They were just there because of what you gave them, what you offered, or what they could get. It hurts at first to watch people you thought would be there fall away. But the truth is, walking alone saves you from carrying dead weight. It saves you from holding on to relationships that were never meant to go the distance with you. As you keep walking along, the beauty is that the right people will eventually find you. Not because you begged them to stay, not because you compromised yourself to keep them, but because they were meant for your journey. The ones who belong don't need to be convinced. They don't need to be begged. They don't need to be bribed. They walk in alignment with your vision, not against it. And you'll only notice that clearly when you've already taken steps by yourself. Walking alone sharpens your ability to recognize authenticity. Because once you've experienced solitude, you're no longer desperate for company. You stop letting loneliness trick you into keeping the wrong people around. You rather have peace by yourself than chaos with the wrong crowd. The moment you realize that walking alone has filtered your circle, you begin to value quality over quantity. You don't measure your worth by how many people surround you, but by the strength of the few who remain. And here's the truth. It is better to walk with 2 people who truly believe in you than to walk with 20 who secretly hope you fail. Solitude reveals the intentions of others. It exposes envy, jealousy, and false loyalty. But it also highlights loyalty, love, and genuine support in a way you couldn't see before. Walking alone is never just about you. It's also about uncovering the truth about those around you. Walking alone builds resilience in a way that nothing else can. When you're surrounded by people, it's easy to lean on their strength, to borrow their encouragement, to hide behind their presence when the storm comes. But when you're by yourself, there is no one to lean on, no one to hide behind, no one to speak for you. It's just you and the situation in front of you. And that pressure forces you to rise. You learn how to handle rejection without letting it crush your spirit. You learn how to push through silence when nobody is returning your calls, when nobody is clapping, when nobody is checking up on you. You discover that your ability to endure has very little to do with outside applause and everything to do with the fight that's inside of you. Walking along toughens you in ways comfort never will, because comfort doesn't demand strength, but solitude and struggle do. Resilience isn't built when everything is going right. It's built when things fall apart and you decide to keep moving anyway. Walking alone means you experience those moments head on. There's no one to shield you from disappointment, no one to soften the blow of failure, no one to pick up the pieces for you. And at first that can feel unbearable. But every time you get knocked down and get back up by yourself, you're teaching yourself that you can survive. You've proven that pain may slow you down, but it cannot stop you. Resilience is like a muscle. It only grows stronger when it's pushed, when it's stretched, when it's tested. Walking alone gives you the training ground to build that muscle until nothing can break you as easily as it once did. Another part of resilience comes from losing the fear of starting over. When you've walked alone long enough, you begin to realize that falling isn't the end, it's just another step. You stop being afraid of failure because you've already tasted it and you know it didn't kill you. You've already been through the nights of doubt, through the seasons where nothing worked out, through the doors that shut in your face, and yet here you are still moving forward. That awareness is what resilience is all about. Knowing that no matter how many times life pushes you back, you have the strength to rise again. Walking alone ingrains that truth into your spirit until it becomes unshakable. What resilience really gives you is the ability to stay calm under pressure. When you've faced storms alone, new storms don't scare you. When you've been through seasons of lack, new struggles don't intimidate you. You don't panic the way you used to because you've already proven to yourself that you can handle adversity without falling apart. And that calm strength becomes one of your greatest assets. Walking alone trains you to carry yourself with dignity, even when everything is falling apart around you. And that is the kind of resilience that separates survivors from those who give up too soon. Walking alone keeps you focused in ways that being surrounded by too many voices never can. When you're constantly in the company of others, you're pulled in different directions. Everybody has an opinion about what you should do, how you should do it, and when you should do it. Some people mean well, but even good intentions can create distractions. When you separate yourself and begin walking alone, the noise starts to fade and clarity begins to rise. You can hear your own thoughts, you can see your own vision, and you can concentrate fully on what matters to you without compromise. Focus is a rare thing in a world full of distractions, but solitude sharpens it like nothing else. Walking alone creates a kind of environment where discipline can grow. Without people constantly pulling at your time and your energy, you can lock in on your goals with laser precision. You start to schedule your days differently. You prioritize differently. And you begin to notice how much more productive you are when you're not trying to please everyone around you. Focus requires sacrifice, and walking alone forces that sacrifice naturally. You give up unnecessary conversations, meaningless routines, and wasted time because you finally recognize that your future is more valuable than temporary comfort. The more time you spend alone with your purpose, the harder it becomes for distractions to pull you away from it. Another way walking alone sharpens focus is by reducing the temptation to compare yourself to others. When you're in a crowd, it's easy to get caught up in measuring your life against theirs. You see what they have, what they're doing, how far they seem to be ahead, and suddenly you feel behind. But when you're walking alone, you're not running anybody else's race. You're able to look straight ahead instead of sideways. You focus on your own steps, your own pace, your own growth. That shift in perspective allows you to pour your energy into becoming the best version of yourself instead of wasting it on envy or doubt. Focus also thrives when there's less pressure to perform for others. In solitude, you don't